Greetings, Bat family, and welcome back to Holy BatCast, brought to you by Real Fans for Real Movies. Make sure you visit our website, holybatcast.com, or find us all over social media on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. Just search for Holy BatCast. You will find us. If you love the show, you'll want to help support us, you can do that on Patreon. You can go to patreon.com/holybatcast. And as always, a big ol' thank you to our patrons. You guys are terrific. You're amazing. We love you. And I got to give a shout out to our latest patron, Mr. Ricky Garcia. Hello, Ricky. Thank you. Thank you for being a patron. You are awesome. Ricky means a lot to us, and thanks for being part of the Holy BatCast family. Big ol' hugs for wherever you are. I'm not sure where you live, but just know that it really means a lot to us. So thank you for that, Ricky, and thank you again to all of our patrons. You guys really are terrific. You make our lives so much easier, it just helps cover like the hosting of the server and all that good stuff. So really means a lot. Big ol' thank you. We're part of the Real Fans Podcast Network. You can check out all those shows, as always, at rf4rm.com. And I am Andy DiGenova. You probably know that. You can follow me on Facebook, Twitter. Why do I always say Facebook? Twitter, Instagram. Yes. I mean, you can find me on Facebook, but I only post baby pictures now. You don't need to see that. But Twitter, Instagram, Letterboxd, it's my name, Andy DiGenova. This episode, as always, we'll start with a little bit of news, what's going on around the DC Universe. We're going to review the next episode of Batman Beyond because we are so close to the end that we can taste it. And then, as always, we're going to wrap up with your emails in the Wayne Manor mailbox. Joining me for all this fun, he's back. You know him. You love him. He's like the grouchy uncle you can't help but love. It's Jamie Drewley. Hey, Jamie.
The hell you mean grouchy?
I mean like in a really charming way.
Oh, in that case. All right, cool.
Yeah. Like Alfred, like you're kind of the Alfred. You've always, you come off a little salty, but like it's nothing but love.
Fair point.
Yeah.
All right, I'll take it. Yeah.
I just hope you don't get blown up.
Well, I mean, I hope Tom King's not writing my script either.
Anyway, welcome back.
Thanks. It's good to be here.
Yes.
And this week, I want to give a shout out to the patrons, just me especially. And I say this because I learned a very important lesson this week that I had no idea about. Podcasting is freaking expensive.
Yeah.
So, peek behind the curtain, Andy and I have been going back and forth about this number that I pay every month for the what is it, like the hosting for the shows?
Yeah.
I assumed that this number was paying for all the shows. And
no, ma'am.
Andy's like, no, this show costs this much. This show, like every show has an individual bill that I was unaware of, and I was like, oh, this costs more than I thought it did. So,
yeah.
Since I know that we do use pretty much all the Patreon stuff to keep that rolling, thank you, everybody, because I had no idea that it cost that much.
Yeah, and that's what it goes to. Literally, it goes for the hosting of the show and the website, really, and then otherwise it's just kind of sits there. But yeah, it makes our like I said, that's why I say it makes our lives easier because otherwise, yeah, we'd be paying out a significant chunk of money every month to keep the show going. And as rich as we are, thanks to Manscaped, it's still not enough to cover it all. So, speaking of Manscaped, though, got to give a shout out to our pals and sponsors over at Manscaped. As always, hope you guys out there listening have already sampled some of Manscaped's products. If you haven't, there's no time like the present, and they want me to let you know that they have just relaunched their Ultra Smooth package. It's back, baby. So this is to complement the Lawnmower 4.0. This is if you want a closer shave, a closer trim. You can get this package or your lawnmower or whichever package or whatever you want to get from Manscaped as long as you use our promo code to get 20% off BATSCAPED. Get 20% off and free shipping. So this Ultra Smooth package, this has a crop exfoliator, it has a crop gel, and it has a crop shaver. So again, if you want to get down closer and smoother than you normally do with your lawnmower, you can use this package to do that, and it helps you avoid ingrown hairs and nicks and cuts just like the trimmer does. We talked about it before. some of those off-the-shelf trimmers, I just end up bleeding. And nobody wants to bleed, and you really don't want to bleed down there in your bathing suit parts. So Manscaped has got you covered to make it as safe and as nick-free as possible and as convenient as possible. The products truly are high quality, so give a try to this Ultra Smooth package if that's your thing. If not, they have lots of great stuff you can peruse. Like I said, I've been using the lip balm, I've been using the shampoo and conditioner, I've been using the body wash, and it all smells really good. So lots of good stuff depending on what it is you're interested in getting. But whatever you choose to buy or whatever, use that promo code. Use BATSCAPED for your 20% off. And as I learned, even if they're running a sale on their website, still use BATSCAPED because you get an additional 20% off of whatever sale they're running. So you cannot beat that. Get that extra discount and buy yourself something. And again, the bonus is you'll be supporting us at the show. You'll be helping us out, and we appreciate that. We do put a lot of time into this show, a lot of effort, and so every little bit helps. And this way, you're shopping for you, but helping us in the meantime. So, BATSCAPED, use BATSCAPED, 20% off. We would appreciate it, and I think you'll appreciate it once you get your stuff.
This week, I'm going to give a shout out to them by saying, I am that unusual breed that has very sensitive skin, but very thick, coarse hair. Like, I only shave my face like twice a week because otherwise I bleed everywhere. I look like Freddy Krueger and I can't handle that. So I'm ultra scared, I guess is the best word to use, about some of the products you talk about for the very reason you say nicks and cuts and bleeding and everything else. And everything else I've used, unless I'm like, super steady, which I'm not. I'm a shaky person because I'm a caffeine addict. I always had those issues with everything else. And with the sensitive skin and the thicker hair, it's just not the most pleasant experience in the world. I have not shed a drop of blood since I started using the products that were given to me by this very wonderful company. So that's my shout out and endorsement for this week for them is it's so easy to use and it's not brutal. They're very gentle when they're touching you down there.
Like I said, I don't know how they do it because I feel like all trimmers should do that, but they don't. So
why that effort isn't put in as an industry standard, I do not know, but I can tell you that I am more than pleased with this. It's easily the best product of its type that I've ever used. The lawnmower is amazing. Love it.
I completely agree. So please, guys, go check that stuff out. Go to manscaped.com. And if you're going to buy something, don't forget to use the promo code BATSCAPED for 20% off. And that way they know that you heard about them from us. So thanks for doing that. Let's kick off a little bit of news, see what's happening around the DC universe. We're going to start with some sad news. And I hate to do it, but we've got to, because we've got to pay honor to one of the greats. We lost one of the greats this past week, Mr. Neal Adams, legendary comic artist, one of the best versions of Batman, if I can say that just from the jump. Just truly a legend in the field. So much respect, and such a shame that we lost him at the age of 80. But his body of work, his name, and the things that he has done in his career will live on forever, truly. When you see some of the most iconic drawings of Batman, of Two-Face, of Green Lantern and Green Arrow, that's Neal Adams. That's never going to die. And not only was he amazing in his artwork, but he also did a lot throughout his career fighting for creator rights, making sure creators get credit, they get paid, like important stuff to make sure that creators are taken care of as well, because without them, we don't have these amazing characters that we love. So it's a real shame to lose Neal Adams, but man, what a body of work he's left behind.
Yeah, I was very sad, very heartbroken. It was really somber for me. This guy was a legend in the industry for more reasons than I even could delve into in a couple hours on a podcast. I mean, he's in some way or another, he's touched every Bat fan out there, whether they know it or not. His collaborations with Denny O'Neil were, I mean, first and foremost, we'll just talk about my most significant contribution, Ra's al Ghul.
Yeah.
As most of you know, Ra's al Ghul is my favorite Batman villain. He is one of my favorite DC characters and one of my favorite overall characters in all of comicdom. I love that character very dearly. I love Talia too, and Neal and Denny are who gave us those characters and made them what they are. And the one thing that you can certainly say in respect to that character, they did it so well. There really hasn't been a major shift in the appearance, motivations, or anything else of Ra's al Ghul from the beginning. And you're talking about something that happened 50 years ago. That's impressive, because everybody at some point, almost every major villain, Batman himself, they've gone some sort of shift at some point. Ra's really hasn't.
No, you're right. That's a great point.
So 50 years for that character to maintain at the level that he has says how good these guys were at their craft. And their, take on Batman, they were essentially responsible for the shift from the quirky, if we want to call it that, 60s Batman tone, like what the show gave us, to bringing it back around to a more serious and earnest type of storytelling involving a darker type character like that.
Yeah, it's that reinvention of Batman that is really credited to Neal Adams and Denny O'Neil, and it was all with Detective Comics 395, which was called Secret of the Waiting Graves. I read that in some compilation, and yeah, that's the story that was considered just a turning point for from going from the campy to a much more serious and darker Batman.
And these guys, the stuff they did for creators' rights. I mean, I'll just take a minor sidestep here. Today, for the first time, don't ask me why it took me 5 years to do it, but for the first time, I watched Batman and Bill on Hulu, the documentary about trying to get Bill Finger credited for the co-creation and collaborations with Batman with Bob Kane. Denny O'Neil, his creator rights thing. I mean, Neal Adams. I'm going to confuse the hell out of these two guys because their names both have Neil in them. Neal Adams, he's very involved in that and trying to get creators' rights and I mean, coming around to it, it gets these guys paid.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with getting paid when you're
they deserve it, man. Yeah.
Get what's owed to you. And it's not solely about that, but it's at least about the recognition and getting something out of that for the work that you put in creating these. I mean, creating a character is not an easy trick. If you guys have ever played a role-playing game, Dungeons and Dragons, or, I played that Marvel role-playing game that was like Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, it's not easy to do. And these things give you guidelines and, you can do this, this, and this. In that respect, it's still difficult to do. These guys are pulling stuff out of thin air and doing it. Or borrowing ideas or enhancing ideas from other places. But still, you understand my point. It's not an easy trick. So the work he did on that front was, certainly what a lot of creators acknowledge him for.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. But, for me, of all the things, I mean, the reinvention, if you will, of Batman and the Ra's contributions themselves are, the things of mythical legend to me. I love those things so much. So 80 years old. I mean, you can't say he didn't have a hell of a run, but it wasn't an easy one for me.
Yeah. No, absolutely. In 80, you could still have some years left. And I'm just, it's one of those where I'm just grateful. I got a chance to meet him in 2015 at a convention, and he was perfectly lovely. I shared this on Twitter, but when I met him and we were chatting, and I said, like when people ask me my favorite versions of Batman, you're right there at the top of the list. And he just went, of course. And it just cracked me up. We're like, okay, well, he knows who he is. He's Neal Adams. But I need to find the piece of art because I got this great image that he drew of Batman and Robin and signed it, and I need to find it and get it framed, get it up here on my wall in my office because it's just a beautiful piece, and it's one of those things where as we get older we lose more people, and I'm just grateful when that I was able to meet him and get that experience before he left us. But when he passed, our good friend Robert Reinecke was like, oh, Andy, I'm sure you're going to talk about this on Holy BatCast. Would you like some recommendations? And I was like, yeah, of course. I'd love that. And if you know Robert, who we love, he over-delivered. So I wanted to share some of Robert's recommendations, not just for you and me, Jamie, but for anybody out there listening. I actually invited Robert to be on this episode because I was like, you know what, Robert, why don't you just come on and tell us this? And he's like, I can't this week. I'm so sorry. And I'm like, come on, because he is a wealth of knowledge. And when I asked for recommendations, oh man, he kind of wrote a thesis, but I'm going to share some just for everybody out there listening who...
I laugh because I know exactly what you mean. Robert's great. I mean, I talked to him in some of the Real Fans groups and everything, and he is a font of knowledge. Particularly, my hat's off to him for classic film knowledge. I mean, he's a veritable cornucopia of knowledge there, but I can only imagine what this list is going to be like.
Yeah, and honestly, if I had gotten him to join us this week, I think that we could have just sat back and let him talk about Neal Adams for an hour, and that would have been our episode.
He's probably still in Milwaukee drinking Paps and eating fried cheese.
It's possible. Okay, so here's what he says. He says, Track of the Hook is where Neal Adams kind of went off model, started turning day scenes into night scenes, and I think the road starts there. And that's The Brave and the Bold, number 79. And then he says, The Senator's Been Shot is the other key Brave and the Bold issue where Adams continues refining Batman, and in that issue also reinvents Green Arrow in a classic costume redesign. That's The Brave and the Bold, number 85. I did not realize that the Green Arrow redesign, the Green Arrow that you think of in your brain when you see him, that was a Neal Adams redesign. I did not realize that.
Well, I mean, we're obviously a Batman show, but we embrace the DC universe. Just to sidetrack from that, was it Hard Traveling Heroes? Is that what they called it? Where Green Arrow and Green Lantern kind of did their cross-country tour thing? Wasn't that Denny and...
Yeah, yep, and, absolutely.
Neal?
Yep.
Yeah, so... I mean, I promise you this, if nothing else, you guys have all seen the cover. And when I say the cover, when I say green, just Google Green Lantern, Green Arrow. I guarantee you the first image that pops up is this cover of this book.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. He says, the full flowering of the reinvention of Batman was in the Gothic Secret of the Waiting Graves, Detective Comics number 395. That one, again, that one I am familiar with. It said within 6 months of Secret of the Waiting Graves, Adams would introduce one of the two villains he's most associated with in Man-Bat in Detective Comics number 400.
I forgot about that one, yeah.
Yeah, and this one, I had this cover as a t-shirt. So,
really?
Yeah.
That'd be a cool shirt. That's a good cover. These guys did fantastic. I don't want to take anything away from, obviously, Neal Adams, but... To me, when I talk about Neal Adams, Denny O'Neil is just automatically synonymous with it. So when I say these guys, that's what I'm talking about, is those two collaborating together.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. No, and I think that's totally fair. He says, and then Adams and O'Neil would do a loving tribute to Joe Kubert and the anti-war enemy Ace, with Vietnam still underway in Detective Comics number 404. A Vow from the Grave, Detective Comics number 410, is a nice atmospheric little tale that was an inspiration for a Batman the Animated Series episode. And then next issue. And then less than 18 months after reinventing Batman, Adams and O'Neil truly cement their legacy by creating Ra's al Ghul in Batman number 232.
Detective 411 actually slightly predates Batman 232, if I'm not mistaken.
Oh, okay.
And for those not in the know, Detective 411 is Talia's first appearance. Batman 232 is Raz's first appearance.
Ah, okay. And then all of 2 months later, they'd reintroduce Two-Face, who had been basically nixed by the CCA in the 50s as too grotesque. I didn't know that either, Robert. Oh my God, this was Batman 234. Wow. It says Night of the Reaper would be the last Adams illustrated Batman tale in 1971. And then 1972 would be the two climactic issues of the Ra's al Ghul storyline and the epilogue. 1973 would bring one Batman story illustrated by Adams, but it's an all-timer, The Joker's Five-Way Revenge. And this is another cover that it is one of the most iconic images of Batman and the Joker you've ever seen, in Batman number 251.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was one more Adams story, a werewolf story adapted in the animated series, and Adams was done with Batman interiors, save for some Power Records work. But from 1968 through 1974, he reinvented Batman visually. This is Batman number 255. This is the werewolf one. But it's also a treat when he'd contribute a cover like this all-timer. And this one... Oh my God, I have to look at it. I can't see the number on it.
Is it a Batman or a detective?
It's Batman. But it's really small and I can't. It's a Batman limited collector's edition, and it's Batman kneeling and like sobbing over the body of Robin with Ra's al Ghul and Talia in the background. I just don't see a number on it. But then the Two-Face annual cover from the 80s, and of course the Robin redesign. So, wow. There you go.
I can't even. Oh, there it is. I see what you're talking about.
Yeah, it's pretty awesome. So, Robert, we're sad you couldn't join us, but thank you. These are a lot of awesome recommendations, and some of which I've read, many I have not. And I think I might have to do a little Adams reading on DC Universe Infinite. So thank you for that, Robert. Super helpful. And for everybody out there listening, I hope you guys are taking notes. If not, go back, start writing down those numbers and do some Adams celebration of your own. But again, heartbreaking to say goodbye, but geez, when you look at his work on Batman, it is just beautiful. It's gorgeous and it is timeless. So it will live forever. His work will live forever. And just wishing him peace and wishing his family nothing but love while they say goodbye.
Absolutely. And if I could just tack one more thing on, for anybody out there that is more interested in reading some classic Raw stuff that was done by Neal and Denny, this before DC Universe Infinite was a thing. Obviously, it's much easier to track down older, more classic issues on there to just for reading purposes. But there was a trade put out, I believe it was called Tales of the Demon, that has the first appearances of Talia and Ra's, and the first probably 6 or 8 stories that Ra's was in, which obviously Neal and Denny were heavily involved there. So, and it's excellent reading. I mean, if you want to get deeper into the character and find out what I'm talking about, as you know, Ra's today, he has evolved very little, and that's not to say that that's wrong. It's just he's just so well developed from the start. Yeah, you'll see what I'm talking about if you read these issues, either in this Tales of the Demon trade or on DC Universe, which I highly recommend.
Oh,
and
great!
I like you. I haven't opened my DC Universe Infinite probably since we did Noel, shamefully. But I noticed they just had DC versus Vampires on there, which I want to read that. So as I go in there, I'm going to start adding some of that classic stuff in there to my list.
Absolutely. All right. Neal Adams, wishing you the best. Or not the best, but you know what I mean. Appreciate all the great work that he's done over the years. Oh, man. How's this for a segue? Speaking of death, is the Arrowverse dead?
Is it?
Is the Arrowverse joining Neal Adams in the Great Beyond? Because this past week, 2 of the remaining Arrowverse shows were canceled. So they canceled Batwoman after 3 seasons. They canceled Legends of Tomorrow after 7 seasons. This is The Flash's last season, and I believe they said they even cut the episode order short, so it's going to be ending sooner than we thought. So that leaves only one show that is technically part of the Arrowverse alive, and that is Superman and Lois.
And I would say that's a loose basis, if anything.
Yeah, exactly. And that's a tenuous connection.
Interesting.
Yeah. So, I mean,
hell of a run, though. I mean, if that is the case and things are coming to a close, I fell off of it a couple years back, and it was just too much, and there was just too much other content out there for me to focus on to try and catch up with 23 episodes of 5 different shows every year when it hit Netflix or whatever, because I cut the cord. how can you say that was anything but a tremendous success for the CW?
Oh, absolutely. And what I did not realize looking at the CW, first of all, I agree with you. Starting with Arrow, who would have guessed what it spawned? And the amount of shows and the amount of characters we got to see in live action and crossing over thanks to Arrow is truly astounding and honestly a gift for fans. If it wasn't your thing, that's okay. For me, it was mostly my thing. You know, I certainly had my favorites and things I like more than others, but generally, I really enjoyed these shows and these characters and the way these actors brought them to life. And so I'm just grateful that it lasted as long as it did, and it gave us so many really great versions of characters we love. Like, man, I got to see live action Firestorm thanks to the Arrowverse. They created White Canary, and now she's one of my favorite damn characters, mostly thanks to Katie Lotz, who's a freaking delight. You know, we got the Atom, we got like just so much cool stuff thanks to the Arrowverse, and it couldn't last forever, and so I totally understand that, but I'm not mad at it. Legends of Tomorrow I've really loved, but 7 seasons, like, come on, like, you can't be too mad about 7 seasons. But what I realized as I was reading up on this is that I didn't know that they're looking to sell the CW. And so
so it won't be part of Warner Brothers into all anymore.
Yeah, and so I think that makes a lot of sense of kind of cleaning house and paring things down in order to sell it. Because if it's not owned by WB anymore, well, that changes a lot of things. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with Superman and Lois. I hope it continues on because I loved season 1. I still haven't watched season 2 because I'm waiting for it to come to HBO Max or to go on sale on iTunes. But
I would say, I'm sorry to cut you off, I would say the easiest solution would be if you still have solid viewership for Superman and Lois and for Stargirl, just make both of them HBO Max shows.
Yeah.
Easy transition. I mean, they both wind up there when the season closes out on the network airings anyway, so what the hell?
No, I'd be fine with that, especially because the only reason I haven't watched season 2 of Superman and Lois is because it's on the CW. If it was on HBO Max, I'd be watching it all along. So it'll be interesting to see what happens with that. And then the Gotham Knights show that is, I guess they're filming the pilot, or I don't know, like at what point in production they are, that we heard about. I would not be shocked if that gets shit canned.
I can't imagine it wouldn't if they're kind of closing up shop. But
yeah,
again, I mean, even Pennyworth went from Epix to HBO Max, didn't it? Mm-hmm. Doesn't HBO Max have the exclusive for that now? Didn't they acquire that from Epix?
Like, honestly, I've so not paid attention to Pennyworth. I don't know where it landed.
I really haven't either,
I know that they've got the previous seasons on HBO Max now, but I don't know if we're getting new seasons to HBO Max.
I thought I read that from now on it was going to be an HBO Max aired show. I could be wrong about that. I'm not sure, but I mean, if they go out and get Pennyworth from another network, why the hell wouldn't they keep their own stuff in-house in that respect, you know?
Yeah, no, that's true.
Word of mouth, and I don't know viewership numbers, but word of mouth that I hear, and I haven't kept up with Stargirl past season 1 because I was watching it when it was on DC Universe, and I stopped when it became a CW show. And I haven't watched Superman and Lois at all yet. I know. I don't want to hear about it. I hear nothing but positive things about both right along. So I would think it would be in their best interest to keep those going and keep them on HBO Max for the, content.
Yeah.
Of course, I think it would be a great idea for them to rejuvenate the Swamp Thing series on HBO Max too. So what the hell do I know? But
yeah. No, I completely agree. And I think that would be great. I think it would make sense. I love Stargirl. I love both seasons. And so I would hope that it would continue one way or the other. Yeah, just unclear if it would be with the CW or, like you said, bring it to HBO Max. That's fine with me. It makes my life easier. So we will see how it goes. But, I mean, with only one existing show left from the Arrowverse, it does feel like the time has come. But, man, I mean...
because Stargirl's really not part of the Arrowverse, is it?
No, not.
Okay.
But like,
of course, Black Lightning wasn't either, but Black Lightning got canceled a year or two ago, didn't it?
Yeah, but it actually, but Black Lightning wasn't, except he still was in the crossovers. So.
Yeah, but the crossovers were the whole multiverse concept.
But so still.
I get it. Yeah.
But man, those crossovers were great. And yeah, and again, like just go back to the point. Black Lightning, he was great. This Supergirl was great. Grant Gustin as the Flash was great. You know, like we got so many great versions of these characters. I've loved both Batwomen that we had. And so, you know, I'm not too sad, mostly because, like you, I've fallen off, not because I didn't like that, but just too much to keep up with, and I just didn't anymore.
Too much content, too much time commitment.
So
if any one of those shows was running individually and not parallel to 12 other things, I would watch it religiously every week.
Yes, agree.
Even on the stupid CW app that just pelts you with ads to death.
Right. Same.
But since there's so many other ways I can go, I mean, even shows that I really like, I'm having a hard time keeping up with now because we're in such a content-rich environment.
No, it's totally true. And I look forward to catching up with some of these shows in the future, because even if I haven't been able to keep up with them in real time, I do want to go back, and I do want to finish Legends of Tomorrow. I loved Legends of Tomorrow. I'd love to finish The Flash and see where it ended up. I'd love to go back and finish Black Lightning. Like, I fell off, not because of lack of interest, but just because of practicality, and they'll always be there for us. I mean, and it's an endless amount of content thanks to these shows. So it's a bummer, but I also get it. And, you know, they'll always be there, whether it's on Netflix or whether they all eventually move to HBO Max. For DC fans, you can always go back and revisit these, and it's just so much content. So,
speaking of shows, if we're ready to segue,
yes,
that I really like, but I've had a hard time keeping up with. I've mentioned more recently, I'm having a hard time getting into the most current season of Young Justice, which is kind of a shame because of how much I like the previous seasons. I am happy to report that sticking it out and getting mostly away from the Mars stuff has really paid off.
Oh, yeah. Yes, I agree.
The stuff with Zatanna and the Vandal Savage history involving the Atlanteans and all of that other stuff has been just great. Clarion, all of it has been... it's back to form for me. I'm in love with the show again.
Oh, and that's I agree. It was funny because like that first little arc on Mars, I just was not into it. And then there was a second little arc with Tigress that was like in Cheshire, which was like okay, but like
it had moments, but I'm over that.
Yeah. And then once it got to the Zatanna arc, it was so much better. And then I haven't picked up the second half of season 2 yet, or excuse me, the second half of the season yet. But I hope that it continues on the upswing. And Blue Devil's there. He's around, and that makes me
he's
happy.
Irish for some reason.
He's Irish. Well, like, he's always been of Irish descent, but he's never been played as actually from Ireland.
I'm of Irish descent. You don't hear me talking with funny accents.
Yeah, well, I appreciate it. It's a new spin. I'm just glad he's present. So I'm glad you're liking where it's going, and yeah, I need to pick it up where I left off.
I'm going to be speaking in an Irish accent in a minute because I'm drinking Guinness tonight.
Oh, great. Speaking of shows on HBO Max, though, you know, a door closes, a window opens, or in this case, a wall. Crazy. On the last episode, we were talking about Peacemaker. We talked about Viola Davis as Amanda Waller. And I was like, man, she's just such a perfect Amanda Waller. They need to find ways to use her more because she's so great. She's so perfect. And we had that conversation. And from our lips to God's ears, there is an Amanda Waller series in development with HBO Max and James Gunn. So this is according to Deadline. Viola Davis is in talks to star and executive produce a series centering around Amanda Waller. So
just go ahead and send the royalty checks through Patreon, DC. That's fine with us. No problem.
Well, here's the thing. You win some and you lose some. This is a win as far as I'm concerned. But 2 episodes ago, we were talking about casting of the Wonder Twins. And if rumors are to be believed, this has not been confirmed. It's still rumor, but if rumors are to be believed, that's been canceled. So we cursed that one, but then we spoke Amanda Waller into existence.
I was getting to the point, I still wasn't excited, but I was getting to the point where I was like, yeah, I'd really like to see what they could do with the Wonder Twins in today's day and age.
I was excited. And that's what's so weird is like we went from like, oh, we've cast the leads to a week later, the rumor is, oh, it's been canceled. But it could be part of that, the whole Discovery reorg that they want to do and make DC Entertainment more cohesive. And maybe that was part of it, is they kind of went through the catalog and the slate and went, yes, yes, no, yes, no, yes, and are kind of figuring it out. That's the only thing I can think of.
Listen, if they're going to axe the Wonder Twins movie because they want to invest more time, effort, and money into, I don't know, Superman, I'll live with it. But if they're going to do it and then wind up putting out, I don't know, Booster Gold, I'm not cool by that. If somebody somewhere has some sense of direction and purpose and know what they're going to do, when they're going to do it, how they're going to do it, and it's just coming together now under whatever new leadership may or may not be, helming this DC branch for them.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'll live with some of these growing pains that go with it. If it's going to be the same old song and dance of, I made a list the other day. I think it was, I don't remember if it was Twitter or Facebook. I was talking about it was on Facebook in the movie group. I rattled off all the projects that I could think of just off the top of my head that we heard announcements for, murmurings for, or something along those lines that either got axed or just fizzled away into nothing.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like 9 movies long. And as I read back through it, I was like, Jesus, I see why people say Warner Brothers is a mess when it comes to these DC properties, because they are.
Mm-hmm.
I've accepted the reality now. Instead of defending Warner Brothers, I'm going to say, yes, they are a mess. They clearly do not have, in what I can envision anyway, a set direction of where they want this stuff to be. And these are the kind of problems that we run into because of that. And I got a little bit tense about the whole thing. And I even kind of bit off somebody's head that I consider a friend. And I had wound up apologizing to him 5 minutes later because I'm like, you know what, man, I'm just frustrated. And you don't deserve that. I'm not attacking you. I'm just frustrated at the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't try to be angry in my old settled down age, but sometimes things just get the best of me and I react, and it's not a good thing. And this triggered a reaction out of me. And I shouldn't be triggered because they canceled a Wonder Twins movie, but it bothers me that they have the opportunity to do something that is undone to this point in the medium of superheroes, or any medium in superhero stuff. Comics, I mean, obviously they've done it in comics, but you know what I mean. They can be first out the gate with this. It was a big deal. First female-led superhero film. First, Latino-led superhero film with Blue Beetle that I can think of anyway.
Mm-hmm.
These are big deals. I mean, was Blade the first black superhero?
I mean, if you don't count like Meteor Man.
I guess Steel came out the year before.
Yeah, Steel. Depends on when you start counting, I guess.
But even so, we're talking about stuff that was 20 years ago, or 25 years ago, not 50 years ago.
Yeah.
So, I mean, at any rate, to me, it's if you're doing something unprecedented or even more, I dare say, original, for lack of something better to call it, that's an opportunity that you should take advantage of.
Mm-hmm.
And they don't seem to realize that or care about it or whatever.
I mean, I agree. I was all for it. I love digging into DC. Like, I'm as excited for Batman as I am for the Wonder Twins. I'm as excited for Wonder Woman as I am for Blue Beetle. Like, for me, give me the big ones, give me the small ones, give me everything in between. I just love seeing the DC universe on film, in live action. That's why, again, like the Arrowverse, we were allowed to explore so many different corners of the DC universe thanks to that. So I still think there was room for Wonder Twins, but hey, if they don't, like you said, I've gotten past being surprised when something dies on the vine, because we hear stuff all the time, and sometimes it happens and sometimes nothing comes of it, and I'm just so used to it now where I'm just like, we'll wait and see. And anytime one of these announcements or these news that something's in development comes out, it's always, well, we'll see what happens, because I've stopped holding my breath long ago.
I mean, I go back to Joker. How long did we talk about extensively who wants to really see a Joker movie that doesn't involve anything to do with Batman?
Mm-hmm.
set in a past time frame in its own universe, not connecting to anything else. A one-off, if you will. I mean, there may or may not be a sequel down the pipe for that, but you see what I'm saying. And R-rated, all of these things, and the son of a gun cleared $1 billion.
Mm-hmm.
So what do we know?
Yep.
But you can't even say that about Wonder Twins. It's not like, oh yeah, we're going to do a Wonder Twins movie, but we're only going to do the girl. We're not going to use the boy. We're going to call it Wonder Twins, but we're not going to put the other twin in there. They're not even doing something dumb like that. It's like, we have the two twins. We have them casted. These are the people we're going to use. I still never heard about Gleek, which was obviously the important piece there. But
yeah, maybe Gleek asked for too much money, and they just were like, "Well, we're just shutting it down."
Obviously Andy Serkis is a busy guy these days.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, man. I'm just running around in circles. The whole thing just frazzles me because I agree. There's thousands of characters in this universe that they can use. What's wrong with using this? I mean, is it taking up somebody else's time and space and money, putting the Wonder Twins out there? That's what I say. If they're going to allocate that somewhere else, they feel it's more important. Fine, do it. But
yeah.
If they're just going to keep doing this same shit over and over again, I'm just not cool with it. I guess is how I'll cap that off.
Yeah. Well, all we can do is wait and see. As for Amanda Waller, I'm really excited about it. And here's why I'm excited about it, is because she is the conduit between any supervillain you might want to use in these shows. By using Amanda Waller as the lead, she can enlist anyone for a 1 or 2 episode arc or whatever. So instead of going, it's a Peacemaker show, where obviously now it's about Peacemaker, or going, it's a Bloodsport show, or it's a Deadshot show. I don't know. It's an Amanda Waller show. Any of these guys can come in at any time. And so it just gives you so much creative freedom to play with what she is up to in the DC universe, using people. Obviously, you can use a lot of villains. You could also bring in heroes that she could butt heads with. She is one of the most consistent characters in the DC universe, and she has dealings with everyone. So I think the possibilities are endless, and I think it's kind of brilliant. I'm excited.
I mean, the possibilities are endless. Obviously, James Gunn's a smarter guy than me when it comes to how to write this stuff and piece it together. But when I read about this, where my mind started to go is play it like an office politics kind of a thing, where like she's basically just in her office the whole time and goes out and walks among the people in the cubicles outside of her office and in whatever building she's stationed in at that moment. And then every episode that she's talking about sending these whatever characters out on KG Beast and Polka Dot Man and whatever else are going on this mission. And then the end of every episode is her standing there watching the screen and watching them get mowed down on this mission and failing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you don't even have to hire actors. Like, you can do the whole silhouette thing like they did with the Peacemaker finale, or just watch heads explode on a screen in the background out of focus, that kind of thing. And then just have her say, damn it, or something, and pound her fist on the desk and roll credits. Every episode ends like that,
Mm-hmm.
I would have fun with that. I mean, again, these people are paid big money to come up with these ideas, not me, but that's where my head went. I think that could be a lot of fun, because then your budget is very well within reach of what you can do. You can still have Waller be very much herself and saying, communicate with these people via radio or headpiece or whatever, and say what she wants them to do or what they need to adjust in the mission, any of that stuff. And you don't have to have big budgets and big names to be on the other end of that. It'd be a very reasonable show if budget-wise.
Well, it could, but I mean, don't you want to see her interacting with these characters?
Well, sure. I'd love to have Ben Affleck be in her office again and have him fight it out like they did at the end of Suicide Squad. But, that's probably not realistic in this current climate that we're.
Well, I think you could do both, I mean, and much like with Peacemaker, how there were nods, there were name drops, there were little Easter eggs, and then there were actual characters who showed up. I think you can do all of that with Amanda Waller. You can have mentions of big characters, or you can have cameos, or you can, have full-on episodes, and it just allows you the freedom to bring in whoever you want for whatever reason, and to as much of an extent as you want. So I think it's very promising.
I agree. I'm much more looking forward to this than I was with Peacemaker when it was first announced.
Yeah.
First and foremost, because Viola Davis. I mean, can we have a moment, please?
I know. And again, like, don't waste a perfect Amanda Waller, and I'm so glad they're not. That they keep finding ways to use her, which is exactly what we asked for. So yes, more Viola as Amanda Waller, and I'm a happy guy.
Co-signed.
Something else that's going to be coming our way this summer is a new animated movie for Green Lantern, Beware My Power, and we got our first trailer for it this week. This one, another one I kind of forgot got announced, if I'm being honest. And then the trailer came out, and I was like, oh, yeah, that's right. We're getting a new Green Lantern animated movie, which is cool because I love Green Lantern First Flight. I think that's just amazing. And then I even liked the other one. What was it? Emerald Knights. I liked that one, too.
Knights, yeah. I thought that one was a lot of fun.
Yeah, and so I'm glad that we're getting back around to this, but it's cool that we're getting a Green Lantern animated movie, but this time starring Jon Stewart. So I don't know if you got a chance to watch this trailer.
I did.
All right. Tell me what you thought.
You were going to sign on a little bit late because you wanted to watch it. I'm like, what Green Lantern trailer is he talking about? And I figured it out and watched it. So yeah.
Yeah, tell me what you thought.
It looks good. I like the cast choices that they're using for it. You know, they've got Hawkgirl and Green Arrow and a couple others in there. I think I might have saw Vixen, maybe.
Yeah, she was in there.
Yeah. So I mean, not the A-list Justice Leaguers that you would expect, but I mean recognizable faces that you maybe would like to spend a little more time with, but don't because of the likes of Batman, Superman, Wonder Woman being in front of them. I love the idea of using Jon Stewart. I think Jon Stewart is a great character. I love Jon Stewart. But that leads me directly into the one problem I have with this. Do we really need to kill Hal just to bring Jon in?
Yeah.
And yes, I know we can get into the whole parallax thing and all that other shit. I understand that, but I don't feel like you can't have the two coexist because obviously in today's day and age, they do for the most part. So, so I was a little disappointed in that because as everybody knows, Hal's my guy, but you know, if that's what they feel they need to do to tell the story they want to tell, I'll live with it. Jon needs some time in the spotlight. I'm fine with it. I know he's got people out there that he's their number one for Green Lanterns. He's in my top 5, and I'm counting the whole things, not just for the Sector 2814 Green Lanterns. But yeah, I mean, it looks good. It wasn't a long trailer. It wasn't super detailed, but it looks like you're going to get some of the background on Jon when he was in the military, and you're going to see them throw down with Sinestro and a couple others in there. So yeah, it looks like a good time. I'm looking forward to it, but it's not one I'm going to rush out and pay $20 for to get day one.
Yeah. No, I mean, I do agree with you. I think it looks really good. I really like this new animation style. I like that there is a greater DC universe at play. I like that he's teaming up with Hawkgirl because they had that very great relationship in the Justice League animated series. And so it's nice to see that continue here where she seems like she is a big part of this. And as well as Green Arrow. So getting Green Arrow and Green Lantern and Hawkgirl all in this, I think is really exciting. I love using Jon Stewart. I think it is past time and great to get him in the starring role. But I do agree with you when they said Hal Jordan was killed. I'm like, no, you don't need to kill him. Just have him off planet. Have him in another universe. Have him somewhere else. So, but it's just a trailer. Let's see the movie because they could just assume he is dead, which I wouldn't put it past them. But that is, that was the one thing that I was like, oh, come on. But everything else I think looks really good. I like the animation. I like the character uses. I like, having Jon going up against Sinestro. Looks really cool. I'm excited about it. I might even spring for the $20. Who knows? We'll see.
All right. I ain't mad at you. Go ahead. You do you. The one thing I will stop you on there, though, is maybe Hal's not dead. If there's one character base in the DC universe that you can pretty much tell if they're dead or not, it's the Green Lanterns because the ring goes on to somebody else when they're dead.
Yeah, I guess that's true.
So, yeah, I considered that, too, and I was like, nope, the ring would find a new wearer after he was gone, and the Guardians would know. So,
yeah.
Unless for some reason the Guardians wanted to fake his death. I mean, they again, comic writers of comic book properties, they do their own things, and they come up with much better ideas than me, but in this case it seems pretty final to me. I'm just saying.
We shall see. Anyway, did you see who is voicing Jon Stewart?
I did not.
It's Aldous Hodge, who is also our Hawkman in Black Adam.
Oh.
I love that. I love when someone is part of the DC family and they get to do multiple things. So I think that's great. That's really cool.
I mean, that's like some instantaneous legacy casting shit right there.
Yeah, he's in. And then here is the synopsis. It says, in Green Lantern, Beware My Power, recently discharged Marine sniper John Stewart is at a crossroads in his life, which is only complicated by receiving an extraterrestrial ring which grants him the powers of the Green Lantern of Earth. Unfortunately, the ring doesn't come with instructions, but it does come with baggage, like a horde of interplanetary killers bent on eliminating every Green Lantern in the universe. Now, with the aid of the light-hearted Green Arrow, Adam Strange, and Hawkgirl, this reluctant soldier must journey into the heart of a galactic Rann-Thanager war and somehow succeed where all other Green Lanterns have failed. So, I'm psyched. Comes out on July 26th.
Means I'm probably going to watch it on HBO Max sometime in October-ish.
Oh, that sounds about right.
Yeah.
But it's not the only animated DC film coming out that week, because strangely, on July 29th, we are getting DC League of Superpets, and we just got a new trailer. Have you had a chance to watch that?
I have not, but did you see who's scoring it?
No.
Jablonski.
Oh, that's cool. That's fun.
I got that tidbit from Shirey over on Twitter. Yeah.
Excellent, excellent. So yes, I did watch the trailer. Honestly, it's more of the same, which is good, but there's not a lot of new things in there. I do feel like they're holding a lot back, which is cool, and I'm excited. I'm still psyched for the movie. There's a great gag with Krypto and Lois Lane. Seems to be like the big crowd-pleasing moment in the trailer. And we get a glimpse of a little animal, and I think it's like a naked mole rat or like a bald hamster that is the one who gets the best of Superman with the kryptonite. I can't quite tell what it is, but it is definitely bald, so I think it will be very funny if it is Lex Luthor's bald pet.
Oh, that does make sense. I was like, why would they do that? And then you said Lex, and I was like, oh, now the light bulb's on.
If every hero is gonna get a pet, so should the villain. And yeah,
I was gonna make a Mr. Bigglesworth joke. So,
I mean, it's not all that far off from that, but it continues to look like a lot of fun. This one is much more focused on the animals than it is the heroes. You get a lot of Superman, but only one quick glimpse of Wonder Woman and Batman. Most of it is about the animals, but it also seems like it is very focused on when they first get their powers. I feel like they're holding a lot back from the second half of the film. Just from what I'm noticing as far as the scenes, and it seems like all of the scenes they're showing is of the animals just learning they have powers and trying to figure them out. So I hope that's true. I hope they are holding it back and saving some surprises and fun for us. But this is one that I just continue to look forward to.
Watch this be the Legion of Doom movie I've been asking for 5 years.
I mean, maybe.
Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'd certainly take it.
Yeah, it just looks really fun, and again, I continue to really like the animation, and yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
I feel, and I don't have any idea what the finished product's going to be, but I feel like watching the last trailer, especially, I'm getting the Lego movie vibe. Not the Lego Batman movie, but like the Lego movie. And I was like, that looks interesting. It's an unusual concept. It looks like it could be some fun. Maybe I'll take the kids to see that. And I did. And, the Lego movie was, I mean, phenomenon's probably a strong word, but you understand.
It was a massive hit.
Yeah. I mean, it's a big hit. Everybody loved it. It was very surprisingly well written instead of just being a ham fest. It had a really solid story behind it, too, I think. I'm getting those same vibes here. It's like, yeah, I'm not super excited for this, but maybe I'll go check it out when I get a free moment on a Wednesday night or something, And I'm just hoping I'm blown away by it when I finally see it.
Yeah, definitely. I think it looks fun as hell. Am I going to get to the theater? Probably not, just because of the baby, but that's okay. I'll look forward to it.
Babies love movie theaters.
Oh, good. That's easy.
Did you ever have a theater around you? Like, I was just thinking about the theater. We had the Holiday 1 and 2, which expanded into like the Holiday 8. They built 6 more over on the side there, and they're all defunct now, and they're gone. And the 1 and 2 have been ripped down. But the 1 and 2 were like the enormous screens that 400 people would sit in, or however many people would be in. And it's where I saw Batman '89 and T2 and all these other, Empire Strikes Back, all these massive, huge hit movies. They had a room in the back of that place that was specifically for people with crying babies.
Oh, wow, that's awesome.
Like it was like a soundproof room in the back with like 6 seats in it.
I wish they had that here, because we would definitely partake.
and there there was a glass window, so you could still watch the movie, and there was speakers in there, sound, everything else. It's the place where you took the baby that was crying, so you weren't disturbing everybody else in the room.
Nice. Yeah, that's cool. So this will probably be an HBO Max one, but not for lack of trying. If it wasn't for the whole baby thing, we'd be going opening night. But I'm looking forward to it. And again, this one comes out July 29th. Oh, and that's what I was gonna say is to go to what I think like they're holding back is like, we've seen Ace in all the trailers and he's voiced by Kevin Hart, but never once do we see him as the Bat Hound. We never see him actually wearing Batman stuff. So that's why I feel like they're kind of just showing us the first half before these animals embrace their superhero alter egos.
Makes sense. I hadn't considered that till you said it, but thinking back to that first trailer, all you really see is like the surprise powers and them like getting to know each other.
Yeah.
And you have to believe at some point by the end of the film they're going to have to be. Again, I'm thinking of what things I'd like to see. I'm not necessarily married to the idea, but they form like their own pet Justice League, and the real Justice League's in peril, and they have to go rescue them.
That pretty much
ideal to me.
Yeah, that seems like it. Because when you see Superman captured, and they're saying that they have to go save him, you also see Wonder Woman captured right behind him. That's the one glimpse you get of Wonder Woman in this. So, Yep. Anyway. There you go. July 29th, DC League of Superpets. Looking forward to it. That's all I got for news. Anything that you heard this week that I failed to bring up?
Nothing of any significance.
All right, great. Well, we have watched another episode of Batman Beyond. Like I said, we're 5 episodes away from the end. Exciting times.
And one of those is a 2-parter, so technically only 4 of our episodes away.
That's true. So here we go. Let's check out the next episode of Batman Beyond. Last time we did the 2-parter, The Call, which was really good. Now, up next, it is Season 3, Episode 9, Betrayal. This one aired on December 9th of 2000. Story by Stan Berkowitz and Robert Goodman. Teleplay by Stan Berkowitz, and it was directed by Kyung-Won Lim. This is a return of one of the new villains that we met not that long ago, actually. I feel like this wasn't that long ago. Big Time. I couldn't remember his name, I'll be honest. I remembered his face. How can you forget a face like that? It's a face only a mother could love, or maybe Terry McGinnis. But Big Time is back. He has escaped from prison, and he has teamed up with the Major, who is some other crime boss guy. We don't learn a lot about the Major, other than that's his name. And he kind of has just that standard, like, short, chubby, bald, with the mustache look, Like
so standard that, in fact, that character looks identical to the guy that was voicing him.
Yes, he does. I wondered...
For anybody unaware, the actor's name, I believe, is John Polito.
Yes.
And he was most notable. He's been in a ton of stuff. Guy was around for years. He passed away not very long ago, just a couple years ago, I think. But he was Gideon in The Crow. Pawn shop.
See, now, what I was going to say is that he was in The Rocketeer as one of the gangsters.
Yeah, but I wanted people to reference a movie that people have actually seen.
How dare you?
Listen,
you don't come into my house and disrespect me like that.
You know I love The Rocketeer, and I owe you a beer for making me watch that movie, because I was one of those fools that just wrote it off thinking, yeah, this is not worth my time. And it's great. I love the movie, don't get me wrong, but let's be realistic. More people have seen The Crow than have seen The Rocketeer.
Fine. And anyway, I'm sorry, I misspoke. He was not one of the gangsters. He was Bigelow. Bigelow's Air Circus. That's who Cliff Secord worked for. Yep. Bigelow. Anyway, so yes, he is teamed up with Big Time, and Big Time's feeling a little underappreciated because he keeps saying, hey, we can do anything. I'm the brains, you're the brawn. And Big Time's like, just because I look like a big monster, my brain still works. I can still think. And so he doesn't trust him. He tries to bring in Terry. Terry feels weird about the whole thing. He still feels guilty about what happened. He tries to bring in Terry to join him. He kidnaps him. And Terry's like, no, man, you're doing this for you. I'm not getting involved with this. I'm out. The Major sees him, and he tries to escape. There's a big chase. Big Time is seems like he is repentant. Seems like there is good left in him. And Terry's like, all right. He'll call the cops, and then Big Time will turn himself in. That's not how it goes down. Big Time was playing Terry, but the Major gets arrested, and Big Time and Terry have a big brouhaha, but he does get away. And then they have a big climactic moment on the bridge where he falls to his death. No, of course not. It's a comic book. No one ever dies.
I doubt he's coming back before the season.
We probably will never see him again because the show's almost over. But they could always bring him back. But yeah, he falls, and it's kind of this bittersweet thing where Terry's old friend, he realizes, he's just not his friend anymore, and he outgrew the friendship, as he said. So this was Betrayal. What did you think, Jamie?
I thought a lot of it did not work. And I thought a lot of it did. I mean, I kind of went on a roller coaster ride with this one. I felt really ho-hum up to a certain point in this, and I felt like there were a couple of missed opportunities. But then they did something that I really, really like. It's a trope that's not often used, at least not as often as I would like to see it. And that's the whole John Bender philosophy of being bad feels pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And, they make you think he's, I should give myself up. I should do my time, try and find the cure, that whole thing. And then, I love the power. I love the respect. Did you really think I was going to give that up? Get out of my face with that.
Yeah.
Even Two-Face in Dark Knight Returns is one of my favorite examples of that as well. You think he's going to be reformed, and he just gets out of the joint and goes right back to his old shit again. I love that. So I like how they handled that. They really threw me for a loop with that, because I did not anticipate that's how they were going to come back around with it. So I'm glad that they did that. My biggest missed opportunity here is when Terry is abducted by Major's people.
I know exactly what you're going to say.
There's 5 episodes left in the show, guys. Max needs a little bit more to close out her arc with this show. And I'll at least give the nod of, Bruce being on the FaceTime with her there and hanging up when she said she had the suit here, and then he calls right back when she's pulling the mask out of the bag, and he says, don't even think about putting it on. That was funny, but I was also kind of like, oh, because for a second there, I kind of held out hope that she was gonna. And how cool would that have been?
Very.
So that's my biggest missed opportunity for the episode. My other one is, I think I actually mentioned this on the first episode with Big Time. There was an opportunity there for Bruce to share experience with Terry in what he dealt with, especially in the cases with Harvey, where it's somebody that he was truly friends with, that he had that contentious relationship with, being superhero, supervillain. And Bruce just never seemed to convey that. Here, I felt like there was just a quick, offhanded thing that he says about, I know what it's like to go up against a friend, or something to that effect is what he said. So they at least acknowledged it, but I think I would have liked a little bit more. But I think I said the same thing in the first Big Time episode too. So all in all, I think it was a really good episode, but I think this is another one of those that just had the chance to be something great and fell just short.
Yep, I think all that's very fair. I don't think that we disagree, really. I think we're pretty much on the same page. I feel the same way, as that I do like in this show when they bring back one of the villains, just because the more time we spend with these villains that were invented for the show, the more substantial they feel. The more you can explore them, the more they feel like mainstays. And I think that's part of why I think we like Ink so much, is because she's shown up the most, and it just seems like there's the most to her. And so it was nice to see them return to big time, even though after that one, which I liked fine, but it's not like I was like, oh, I can't wait to see him again. But I like that they returned to him, and we got to go back to that relationship. Although when he showed up, I didn't remember his name was Big Time. I kept thinking it was Blockbuster. I was like, oh yeah, Blockbuster. Oh wait, no, that's not this. But
Blockbuster's a Marvel character.
No, isn't there a Blockbuster for DC?
Is there?
I thought there was.
Oh Christ, I don't know.
But now I gotta find out. But anyway, so I liked it. But I thought the same thing. I was like, man, wouldn't this have been better if it was about Max having to save him? Okay, yes, there's a Blockbuster DC character. Okay,
My
yeah.
bad.
All right. Anyway.
They're probably going to announce a movie for that next week.
That's
what's taking over the Wonder
you could
Twins
star
star.
in it. He's a big, strong guy. Anyway, but yes, I was really hoping that, this is Max having to go out and save him. And yes, if she suited up, it would have been even better. And so it was a little mean that they like tease us with it and then immediately shut it down. I was like, oh, come on. Like, that would have been so cool. But once I got over that, I think it's a good episode. I liked how it explored the relationship. I liked how he played Terry. I thought that was really well done. And yeah, the way even Terry's like, oh, we can work on a cure. We can make you better. And he's like, yeah, that would be great. And he's like, no, I like it. I like the way I look. Yeah, I thought it was good. It's not the deepest episode. It doesn't have the most complicated story, but I thought it was a good next step for this character, for this villain. So yeah, if the show were to continue, I think we would have seen more of him. But it was solid. I also did appreciate how Bruce came in his hover limousine and just ran down Big Time. I thought that was pretty rad.
I mean, anytime Bruce gets involved is always a smile moment for me. So yeah. I mean, not the capacity I necessarily want to see him in, but anytime Bruce is active like that, I'm good with it.
Yeah, and when they left the suit behind and so much of the episode went by, and I was like, oh, is this like going to be like a Batman-less Batman episode? But no, he gets it for the big finale, just in time.
And Terry is not very bright. Like, if you're up against somebody that big and that strong and you don't have your suit or any of that other help with you, you don't punch that guy in the stomach and stand there and wait and see what he's going to do. That's a terrible idea. Terrible.
All right. So, what do you think? Betrayal, letter grade.
I think I'm at a B with this one.
All right. Me too. I'm at you.
I knew for sure you were going to say B plus.
No. I'm staying honest. Good solid B. That's a solid episode.
Good episode.
Could have been an A plus if Max could have wore a costume.
I'm saying, if you give me the Batgirl Beyond, now we're talking about an episode, boys.
Yep.
And girls. And whoever else.
Well, all right. Big time. R.I.P. Next one up, it is that two-parter. It's Curse of the Cobra. So if you're following along, we're getting so close to the end. Next time, we'll just do both. So that
I
is your
can't wait
homework.
to see Batman fight Serpentor.
Ooh, who's that?
What? Are you serious?
Yeah.
Not a G.I. Joe guy, are you?
No, sorry. See, I thought King Hiss from Masters of the Universe.
Who surprisingly does not look completely dissimilar from Serpentor, except Serpentor actually has a human face and it's like headgear.
Oh, okay. Great.
But, okay, just real quick. I mean, people out there. The Serpentor, Cobra was trying to develop like the ultimate leader for their organization. So they went back and got genetic material from like Hannibal, Napoleon, all these great conquerors and leaders from the past. And they cloned it into like a Frankenstein guy who was like going to be the master intellect that was going to outwit G.I. Joe and lead Cobra into world domination. No, doesn't ring a bell. Okay.
No, not at all.
It was actually it was dope. The G.I. Joe movie. You never saw the G.I. Joe movie?
I saw the live action movies.
Okay, I was talking about the animated one.
The animated one? No, I've not. I have not seen the animated one.
Okay. The second that thing hits the discount bin, I'm buying it. Serpentor is in that. If I'm not mistaken.
Okay.
I haven't seen it in like 35 years, but yeah.
I'm sure it holds up.
Yeah, I'm sure. No. You know how they yell out "Cobra" when they attack in G.I. Joe?
Yeah.
Yeah, with this new regime, they yell out "Cobra, la 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 la."
Okay.
I'm not making this up.
Great. All right, Curse of the Cobra next time, two-parter as we get super close to the end of Batman Beyond. But it's not time to say goodbye just yet because we've got to check in with you fine feathered finks and crack open the Wayne Manor mailbox. It's time again for the Wayne Manor mailbox.
You've got mail.
Darren. What is a letter for me?
Maybe temporary.
She wrote a letter.
You're one hell of a messenger. This is all Master Wayne.
Let's see what we got here. This is from good old Tom Fallows. It says, "Hey guys, long time to write. Hope you've done well and you're enjoying all things Batman. I remember a few weeks ago you were talking about Matt Reeves adapting Venom with Robert Pattinson's Batman. It got me wondering about previous Batmen. So my question is this. What comic book arc or storyline would suit each Batman? And just because it's been used in Rises and Affleck, let's take The Dark Knight Returns off the table. Sorry, Jamie. Also, quick aside regarding your conversation about Robin. I think a lot of people miss the point of the Bat family in that they are the inverse of the Arkham Rogues. It's long been said that Batman's presence attracts these villains, and considering the volume of Bat villains, it would give credence to the argument that Batman doesn't have much of an impact on Gotham and his mission. The Bat family are the argument against these ideas. Batman's darkness has attracted the villains, yes, but his heroism has inspired many citizens of Gotham, like Tim Drake, Barbara Gordon, Stephanie Brown, Duke Thomas, and Cassandra Cain, to take up the mantle of protector against these criminals. They act as a form of redemption for Batman, and none of this would have happened if the Batman didn't show his heroic side by taking in a young boy whose world has been ripped apart by crime and giving him a home and a way of coping with his grief. Anyway, that's my 10 pence. Enjoy the podcast. Tom Fallows, Liverpool. Thanks, Tom. Always good to hear from you. Oh, man. A comic book arc or storyline that would suit each Batman? That feels like a homework question.
Well, I mean, he hurt me just because my answer for everything is Dark Knight Returns. So
I mean, but his point is valid, as it was.
I know.
And I feel like so many of them have already been woven in, like year one is Batman Begins, and there are certainly elements of the Long Halloween in the Dark Knight and in the Batman, and the Dark Knight Rises is Nightfall and No Man's Land and the Dark Knight Returns, and so I just feel like there's so many that are already kind of in there. It's a tough call. Any thoughts, Jamie?
Which one fits digital justice? That's what I need to figure out.
Right.
I swear to God, I'm the only person that bought that book when it came out.
I never bought it, but I was very intrigued by it. I wonder if it's on DC Universe. I need to check.
It's a good question.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tom. This one takes some thinking, and nothing is jumping to mind other than the ones that are obviously already inspired by those stories.
That's kind of where I'm at. I'm not trying to invalidate his question, but I feel like for the most part, I'm pretty satisfied with most of the Batman movies more than not, which means that they probably pretty much filled up what they needed to there. So I'd have to sit back and think about what didn't Keaton do that I think he would fit for. And I know that's really what he's getting at, but I'm not good off the cuff with that kind of stuff anyway, but this especially, I really have to put some thought into it.
Well, like Tim Burton loved The Killing Joke. I could certainly see like a Keaton version with The Killing Joke, right? I could see him in that story. I feel like something with like Hush, that's like a parade of villains. Honestly, I feel like that could be like one of the Schumacher Batmen, because you could just see him having fun with just villain after villain after villain. You know, Christian Bale, I think, would be great in The Long Halloween. You know, Affleck really is doing The Dark Knight Returns. I don't know what to tell you. I'm trying to think of something else that the Affleck Batman could do. You know, of a story that's out there that's like really influential. I don't know. Maybe he could do Dark Victory, you know, and they could do the Robin story. I don't know. I'm just spitballing because it's a tricky question.
To answer your question, no, I don't see Digital Justice on DC Universe.
Boo. All right, Tom, thank you for the tricky question.
One more thing before you close out. His point about the Bat family being the inverse, that's a magnificent point. It's far more eloquent and detailed than what I would have put into it, but I agree with him wholeheartedly about that. I think that's an excellent point.
Yeah, I think so too. I also think that the criticism, Batman causes these villains. Guys, don't y'all know? Like, there are no stories to tell if your hero doesn't have villains to fight. You could say the same thing about Superman and Iron Man and Spider-Man. Like, do they cause their villains? It's just so silly. Anyway, but yes, I do like the idea of Batman inspiring and creating his family. And that's just it, is Batman is someone whose family was ripped from him and has now created this other family and has helped them get through the pain that he himself has felt. And the Bat family is a great way to show how he has inspired others. So I love it too, Tom. I'm with you. All right, next question is from David W. It says, "Hey guys, I'm happy that the call from Batman Beyond got such positive feedback. I've been hyping up that episode ever since the review episode for The Suicide Squad because of Starro, and probably even earlier because of how good it is. Also, I think Batman Beyond ended production before Justice Leagues began, so the voice actor was actually between Tim Daly and George Newbern." David, I think you needed to finish the episode before writing this. But yes, we figured that out eventually. But yes. It says, the appearances of the future Justice League and the DCAU include a much reduced version in the timeline mangled dystopian future, The Once and Future Thing, and the JLU Season 2 series epilogue, which is a future episode focused on Batman Beyond. This version of Superman's alien menagerie was indeed inherited from the Preserver in Superman the Animated Series two-parter. The main man, which as you would guess is a Lobo episode. The Preserver preserves specifically down to the last one endangered species. He hires Lobo to bring him Kal-El, which is genius when you think about it. When you think about it, because although Supergirl will prove to exist in the animated universe, she will be specifically from a sister planet of Krypton's called Argo, not just Argo City. So the distinction holds true. Later, Lobo gets caged because he just had to run his mouth and confirm that he's also the last of his kind. Thanks for the show, David. Thanks, David. And appreciate this. And a couple other folks have actually chimed in as well, helping clarify some of those questions we had about the call. So Stephen Marshall, who's like a massive Superman fan, he reminded me that Christopher McDonald was the voice of Jor-El in the Superman animated series.
Oh, really?
So they brought him back to do an older Kal-El, which is kind of brilliant. I had forgotten about that.
Okay, yeah.
And then
I did not know that. So
and then Steven and David and a couple other folks all reminded, yes, this indeed is essentially a sequel episode to the Lobo two-parter from Superman the Animated Series. So thanks, David, and thanks, Steven, and thanks, everybody else. Appreciate that. All right, next message is from Jalen Johnson. It says, "Hey, Holy BatCast crew. Back when Matt Reeves was in the middle of making the Batman, he said he wanted to address the detective aspect of Batman's character. When I initially heard this, my mind went back to the Denny O'Neil stories from the 70s that were set up like Sherlock Holmes stories, where Batman had to slowly piece clues together to solve a mystery. Once I saw the film, I was disappointed to see that this wasn't the film that Matt Reeves made. This Batman never figures out any important breaks in the case on his own. Instead, they're constantly being handed to him by other characters. He never figures out that Falcone was the rat. Catwoman gives him that. He never figures out the cover-up regarding the reporter. Riddler gives that to him. He also misinterpreted the Rada Alada clue until the Penguin corrected him. Finally, he only found the Riddler's final plan because an officer told him that the murder weapon was a carpet tool. I keep seeing people praise the detective aspect of the movie, and I keep wondering if I saw a different film. It's to the point that Batman largely feels inconsequential. You could remove him from the film, and Riddler's plan largely plays out the same. For me, it isn't the definitive Batman detective film that people are touting it as. Did you guys have the same problem with the film, or were you unfazed by it? Thanks for reading. Jalen Johnson, Atlanta, Georgia. Oh, Jalen. Oh, man. Do we really want to go down this road? Do we?
I don't. I'm going to say it right now. I don't even want to address it. All I'm going to say is somebody, and I'm not going to name any names, mentioned to me, and I don't remember if it was on air or off, that's why I'm not saying any names, that Batman basically doesn't stop Riddler from doing anything he wants to do at any point in the film.
Correct.
Which kind of goes hand in hand with the whole,
yeah,
other people are handing him the clues. Now, in that respect, I'll at least play devil's advocate and say detective work is not an exact science. Like if you talk to a policeman, detective, anything along those lines, sometimes you need a little bit of luck to help you out in a case. But the convenience of when the luck happens in this film is just a little too much for me to ride with, particularly the cop who just happens to be in the room with Batman at that exact moment, having an uncle who was a carpet installer, and that's how he figures that out. Like, that all felt just way too convenient for me. But, sometimes you have to go suspension of disbelief and ride with the story they're trying to tell and let go of things like that. But the one thing I do want to say is we keep acting like there's never been a detective moment in a Batman movie, and that's simply positively not the case.
I've said that 100 times on this show.
I know, but we have to keep saying it because every Batman at some point, and I'm not going to bring Batman and Robin into it because F that movie, but at some point, every single Batman movie has had detective work going on. And now he's not wearing that funny two-billed hat with a magnifying glass bent down staring into the corners of every room he's in or anything, but he's doing detective work. It's not the noir style. It's not the slow burn style. It's not any of that, but it's there and it's present. And please, guys, it's every Batman movie has had Batman be a detective at some point.
Okay. And that was you not wanting to talk about it.
I know. I don't. Because I'm going to get all kinds of shit for that. And you know what? I'm just going to turn the mute button on. That's okay.
Okay. The one thing I will push back on you on, Jalen, because it's a little confusing the way it is in the movie, and I even went back and forth with one of our listeners about this, is the Rada Alada answer. Because we're all like, oh, it's a bat. Of course it's a bat. But it's not. Like, he thinks it's a stool pigeon. And then he thinks it's the penguin. And then the penguin says it sounds like a bat. So is it a bat? But then he realizes a rat with wings, the rat who has wings, is Falcone. So, but the way it is in the movie is very confusing because I've seen people interpret it different ways. People go, oh, no, it was always a stool pigeon. Where it's like, well, kind of, but not really. And we all thought, oh, it must be a bat, but it's not because the answer isn't Batman. It's the rat. The whole point is him trying to identify who the rat is so Batman will pull the rat into the light so Riddler can kill him.
But why does Falcone have wings? What is that relevant?
Because it's a falcon.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
So a rat, he's the rat, but he's a rat who has wings because he's a falcon, Falcone.
Oh, yeah, the obvious deductive answer. Yeah, I mean you might as well have had a sparrow with a machine gun.
So I will say that like the Rada Lada thing is like a, you know, it's confusing the way it is in the movie, but anyway.
It's pretty clever using the whole URL
Yeah.
to get to the website. I thought that was a pretty good stroke of brilliance in the writing. I did like that. I'll certainly concede that much.
I will just say, yes, this is the most detective Batman we see in a movie. I've said it on the show many times, which Amy just said, is he does detective work in most of the Batman movies. That's just not the whole movie. But this one, it is kind of the whole movie. He's always investigating these crimes, showing up at crime scenes, looking for clues, solving riddles. That's the definition, right? So he's doing that throughout the movie. It has bothered me since the movie came out, because the more I think about it, the more I kind of have been landing with what you're saying, which is never once is he able to use his detective work to stop the Riddler from doing something he wants to do. Not once. In fact, there's a point in the movie where Gordon says, we need to find the Riddler. And Batman literally says, no, we wait. It's his game now. And so for all this detective work for 3 hours, never once is Batman able to prevent a bad thing from happening. In fact, he would have never even caught the Riddler if the Riddler didn't give himself up towards the end of the film. And that's something that really does bug me about the movie.
I mean, since there's obvious tones taken from Seven, I mean, that all kind of fits hand in hand with that, too.
So
the only difference is the detectives in Seven actually knocked on the dude's doorstep at one point, and he didn't expect them to.
Yeah, they would have never found him if he didn't shoot Falcone from his window so they could go, oh, it's from that window, and then they go up.
And then he goes and sits in the coffee
And then he goes,
shop
sits and waits. Yeah, and he sits and waits. So, Jalen, I am fazed by it like you are, but we are in the minority, and I have accepted my position on that.
Yeah, thanks, Jalen. We're getting this. Did he leave his Twitter or email so everybody can send this stuff to him instead of to us?
I wouldn't do that to him.
He doesn't understand the pain, apparently. But you know what? It's just a movie, guys. It ain't perfect. I don't care what you guys try to sell me. And I'll fight you to the bloody death on this. This movie is not perfect. Not even close.
No. All right, next one is from our pal Chris, the Objective Geek. He says, hey guys, I got a short question for once. What are some of your favorite non-superhero movies? Keep up the great work, Chris. P.S. Jamie, I hope you're happy that the biggest thing the Raiders have done to decrease the Chiefs' potential success is to inflate the wide receiver market, resulting in us trading Hill.
My friend, you have no idea how hard Raider Nation collectively laughed that day. If you know, you know. I'm not going to get into the whole thing today, but we got Devontae Adams and got Tyreek Hill the hell out of town within 72 hours, I think it was. So, yeah, it was pretty glorious, if you ask me.
All right. Favorite non-superhero movies, Jamie?
Easiest question I'm going to answer all day. Alfred Hitchcock's Rear Window. Followed by Goodfellas, Jaws, Gladiator, I mean, I've got a bunch of them. We could be here for a long time having this discussion, but Braveheart, start throwing some out. Rear Window. Rear Window is my second favorite movie of all time. If it wasn't for the existence of The Dark Knight, Rear Window would be my undisputed champion of favorite films.
Yep. I ride with you on Rear Window. I think it's a masterpiece. I'll go with Psycho if we're talking about Hitchcock. John Carpenter's Halloween. Disney's Hunchback of Notre Dame. The Fellowship of the Ring.
Fellowship, yes.
Dark City, still one of my just undisputed champions. I love it. Hoosiers, talking sports. It's basketball, it's not baseball, but I love me some Hoosiers. Yeah, Jaws, E.T., Jurassic Park. Yeah, Jurassic Park's my number one, of course. I can't believe it took me that long to get to it, but yeah, I got to it. Pinocchio, Yeah, forget about it. How much time you got?
I'll just go ahead and say it. I love the movie Seven. I would say that's probably fairly comfortably in my top 20, if not higher.
Well, then I've got the Batman movie for you. So there you go. There's a bunch of them.
40-Year-Old Virgin is one of my favorite. That's my favorite comedy of all time. I love that movie.
All right. Good. Oh, 9 to 5, The Birdcage, if we're talking comedies.
Oh, God, that's such a great movie.
Come on, yeah.
I actually went back on my trip a couple weeks ago and listened to the episode that we did on Real Fans for that.
Oh, wow. That's fun. Throwback for you.
That was a great episode, and that's a fantastic film.
Yeah, it is.
For anybody out there who has never seen that, it is one of the most consistently hilarious movies that I laugh every time I've watched for 42 years.
It still kills me. It's that good.
And it still holds up. I mean,
oh yeah.
Fashions and hairdos aside, that movie could exist in today's day and age and be completely relevant and relatable. I mean, it's amazing.
All right. Thanks, Chris. Let's move forward. Next message is from Scott Brown. It says, Batman truly is forever. It says, hey guys, I wanted to share something I saw over the weekend in an actual operating toy store in Montrose, California called Tom's Toys. It says kids only, but I'm sure they'd make an exception for tourists from Australia. And it is a picture of the Batman Forever Batmobile, but one of those like kiddie rides that you would see like out front of Kmart.
Like what Penguin had in Batman Returns.
Yes, but it's the Batman Forever version. And I actually have a picture sitting in one like this, but it was obviously not at this toy store. It was at a comic shop somewhere in California, and I squeezed my fat ass into one just for the photo. So yeah, very fun. I love that this is still out there in the world. So Brendan, it sounds like you need to go to Montrose, California. All right, next question is from Ian Jacobs. It says, hey guys, great show as always. When you're reading Batman comics, whose voice do you hear in your head while reading? For the longest time, it was always Kevin Conroy. But the older I got, the more I find myself hearing whichever cinematic actor's voice the costume closest resembles. However, the Joker will always be Hamill to me, no matter what the look is. Congrats on the new family edition. Keep up the great work. F the haters, Ian. Thanks, Ian. What do you think, Jamie? Who do you hear when you read Batman?
Weird as it may be, it set in early on as a kid reading some Batman comics, and it's just kind of really never left. And I've kind of adjusted consciously more to it now. But if I'm just sitting down and reading a Batman comic, the voice I hear is the guy that did it for the Super Friends show.
Huh.
Weird as that sounds, because I know almost the resounding answer from everybody is Conroy, but it's probably because most of you listening, not all, but most are younger than me. So you probably more grew up with Conroy being the voice of Batman versus me. I grew up when that guy that did, I think he did a Batman solo cartoon as well.
Okay.
Didn't Filmation do Super Friends and no, that was Hanna-Barbera.
Hanna-Barbera did Super Friends, yeah.
Then did they do a Batman?
And Filmation did its own Batman show, yeah.
Was it the same voice though? I'm trying to remember because I think the voice I'm talking about also is the one that did it for the Scooby-Doo crossover episodes.
Okay.
Anyway, that's the voice I've always kind of heard in my head with Batman.
The closest would be Conroy, but it isn't Conroy. I think it's just sort of more of just a generic Batman voice. Like I don't hear a specific actor. I just sort of hear Batman. As crazy as that sounds.
No, I get it. Because that's how I am with, like, he said Hamill for Joker, and I'm like, who do I hear for Joker? And I'm like, I just kind of hear the Joker. Like, I have my own voice for the Joker in my head. So I get what you're saying.
Yeah, that's same. Yeah, so it's more of just, I guess, what my brain thinks Batman sounds like. It's not a specific actor. And same thing for the Joker, honestly. Almost anything when I read comics, I don't read it in other people's voices. The only exception, and I still want to talk about it on this show, is the Superman 78 comic that just finished up, which was great, by the way. I heard Christopher Reeve's voice. I heard Margot Kidder's voice. I heard Gene Hackman's voice. Like, that one was, like, crazy. Just, it was written in their voices so well that I could hear it. But For other comics, no. I just sort of hear the voices my brain creates. All right, next message here is from Weston Craig. It says, "Hey guys, it's been a while. I took a break from listening to focus on defending my master's thesis, but I started catching up. I love Constantine in the comics. There are two very different versions. The one from the Vertigo Comics Hellblazer series, which is much more of a graphic, dark, and explores more adult themes, like serial killers, drug and alcohol abuse, and domestic violence. Then there's Constantine that was incorporated into the DC universe. That was a much more toned-down version for a general audience. Do you think the HBO Max show will go more on the Vertigo Comics route, aimed at adults, or a more general approach like the CW and cartoons did? Thanks for the amazing podcast, Weston." And then he followed up, not an hour later, but he did say, "Sorry for the second email, but I'm getting caught up, and in terms of DC friendships in live action, Green Lantern and Green Arrow would be great, or Dick Grayson and Clark Kent." All right, Weston, thank you so much. I love Green Lantern and Green Arrow. What a great call.
Hell yeah.
Especially since we talked about it earlier. Yes, that's a great thing. And then as for Constantine, what do you think? It's more the Vertigo version or the more palatable DC Comics version?
I'm fine with either, but given the choice, I think I would prefer the more Vertigo style version, just because I don't know that version. So it would be something for me where I'm not comparing it to other things I know. I'd have less baggage with it, if that makes any sense.
Yeah, it'd be. I mean, it would certainly be something different.
I don't want to sit down to watch the show and constantly be saying, "God, I really wish I was watching Matt Ryan right now," or something like that. And I'm not saying I would necessarily if they did incorporate it, in the shared universe, if you will, or something more along that line. I'd be fine with that. I think I would be more interested in the darker, more, and I hate this friggin' term, adult-oriented show.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's Harley again. She agrees. No, she's scared about this darker one. Oh, Harley. Anyway, I could see them going that way because, again, it would just be another way to differentiate this from the version that is so recent with Matt Ryan. So I could see them going that route. I still think that they would want to incorporate more of the DC universe because it's a DC show. But, I mean, based on, like, Titans and Doom Patrol, which are both very R-rated, my guess is this would be too. And because of Constantine, they could definitely go more horror and scary. So, yeah, I could definitely see them tackling much darker things than you would have seen on the CW. And there you go. We're closing the Wayne Manor mailbox, guys. Thanks for the messages. Love hearing from y'all. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, you can send that to Holy BatCast at rf4rm.com. But that'll do it for this episode, Jamie. Always a pleasure. Thanks for making the time.
Yeah, it was a good time. Real quick, I want to give a shout out to everybody on Twitter. I shared that memory yesterday of losing half of my collection to my basement flood that I had. Yesterday was the 8-year anniversary of me finally working up the courage and giving up trying to dry them out and restore them and whatever I could. And I had to put them in a recycling bin and send them out. And I got a lot of outpouring of support from people I know, people I didn't. And I just want to say thanks to everybody, except for the one person who told me I should have just thrown them in some rice to dry them out. I just want to ask out loud where everybody can hear me, even though I sent a quote tweet back on it. Exactly how much rice do you have to use to dry out 1,300 water-soaked comic books?
So that's what people are like, you should have just threw them in some rice?
Yes, somebody actually more than one person said it, but this person was like vicious about it.
Oh, weird.
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, it is very tragic, and it's one of the saddest stories ever. So I'm glad that like Twitter rallied around you to provide you the moral support, even 8 years after the fact.
Yeah. It hurts every year. It popped up on my Facebook memories, and I thought, Twitter needs to share my pain too, and a lot of people did, and like 6,000 people liked that tweet so far. Like it's still going actually, but like 4 of them were just asses about it.
It's it never fails. There's always someone who just wants to be a jerk.
But I just say that because of all those other people that have commented and retweeted and quoted it and everything else. They're like, people have said anything from, oh my God, this makes me physically ill, to you should contact DC. I'm sure that they would help you recover these books. And I'm like, yeah, okay. I wish they would, but yeah. And the part that got me yesterday, and I have a pretty good memory of what wound up in that bin, is almost every, and when I say almost, it can't be 5 to 10 books short, Batman book published or Detective Comics book published from 1987 until probably somewhere in the summer of 1993 was in that bin.
I mean, all the ones on the top were all Batman books, which made it even sadder.
And Infinity Gauntlet, and it's the Infinity Gauntlet. I had multiple copies of all 6 issues, and they're all in that bin. I had 3 basically untouched near mint plus New Mutants 98s, which is the first appearance of Deadpool. And you know how I feel about Deadpool, but that's a very valuable book now. 3 of them in that bin.
Oh, man. Well,
I mean, I could go on and on. The first appearance of Jason Todd, the first appearance of Tim Drake, the first appearance of Killer Croc, the first appearance of Anarchy, Year 1, Year 2, Death in the Family, all of it is in that bin.
Well, not anymore, it ain't.
Well, you know what I mean. But anyway, yeah, thanks to everybody that gave me some support on that. You helped me heal a little bit more of that pain on there. So thanks to everybody out there that was positive about that. And if you weren't positive about it, F off.
All right. Tell our friends where they can find you and give you support, and see this if they missed the photo, where they can go find it.
It's tragic, man. I don't know if the
it is. It's the saddest thing you'll see all day.
It's Twitter, BatRaider3960. You can also find me under my name on Letterboxd and floating around Real Fans groups periodically and on this show.
I feel like we need to do like an ad. Maybe it's like a GoFundMe to help replace your comics, but it would just be...
Somebody said that today. They're like, where is this man's GoFundMe? I'm like, you have no idea how much money it would cost to... Because I was anal retentive from the beginning about how nice I kept my books. Like, there are very few that wound up in that bucket that would not have scored a 9 or higher on an actual grade.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them would have probably been like 9.6, 9.8. Like two of the 3 New Mutants copies I had, I promise you, New Mutants 98s would have been 9.8s, which that's, I don't know, probably a $3,500 book now.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, I just want to,
anyway,
I want to pull that picture. I'm going to make you a little commercial, and it's going to have the Sarah McLachlan over it. In the arms of an angel.
The GoFundMe it would take to replace that would solve world hunger. So guys, please trust me. There's better ways you can use your money than me.
I mean, it freed up so much space.
That is true. I mean, it was almost 4 long boxes full. So yeah,
it's tragic and sad and horrible, but silver lining.
Yeah.
Anyway, go give him a follow. Go check that out. I already told you guys where to follow me, but thanks for joining us as always. Thank you for downloading the show. Please do follow the show or subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts, and please rate and review us on Apple Podcasts. Visit holybatcast.com. Find Holy BatCast on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, or YouTube. If you've got something for the Wayne Manor mailbox, that email address, again, is holybatcast@rf4rm.com. Our music was done by the very talented Gaurav Venkateswar. His work can be found at gvtunes.com. And, as I said at the beginning, if you're looking for something, if you want to do some shopping, please go to manscaped.com, peruse their items, and if you're going to make a purchase, don't forget to use the promo code BATSCAPED because you get 20% off any discount that they're already running, so you can't beat that. But that'll do it. On behalf of Jamie, I've been Andy. We'll see you next time. Same bat time, same bat channel. Holy BatCast is not affiliated with Warner Brothers or DC Entertainment. The views and opinions shared by the participants are theirs and theirs alone and do not represent the companies or organizations they happen to work for. In the arms of
Dude, that was the most I've cried in my adult life that day when I threw those books out. I just, oof.
I know, and at least you made 6,000 other people cry yesterday.
Well, yeah, I mean, if you're going to suffer, don't do it alone, right?
I mean, you know what they say, right?
Misery loves company.
Joy shared is doubled. Sorrow shared is halved.
That's a decent enough philosophy. I guess that's a different take on the glass half full thing.
My psychology teacher taught me that. He was a very smart guy.
It sounds pretty wise.
Yeah,